The wind across Tiervac Prime screamed like metal torn apart. Red dust rolled over the plains, catching the light of a dying sun. In the middle of it, 12 humans crouched inside the rusted skeleton of an abandoned mining station, silent beneath layers of camouflage netting. Captain Elena Marlowe knelt beside a shattered window, her visor flickering with data. Beyond the ridge, a faint silver shimmer moved, an alien dropship descending. "Visual confirmed," she said quietly. Her voice was steady, calm, almost detached. "Vrake Dominion, Mark 8 assault carrier. Heavy escorts?" Lieutenant Kane, her second-in-command, leaned closer. "That's the 5th one this hour. Means they're still underestimating us," Marlowe replied, eyes narrowing. "Let's not change that." Her team, 11 soldiers in mismatched recon gear, moved like ghosts. No shouting, no unnecessary chatter. Every motion was deliberate, economical. They had arrived on Tiervac Prime 2 weeks before the invasion, sent only to scan minerals and record weather patterns. But when the Vrake Armada appeared in orbit, evacuation became impossible. Command went dark. They were alone. No one panicked. Humans had learned long ago that isolation was normal at the edge of space. Marlowe studied her wrist display, 12 life signs glowing faint green. "Phantom Net protocol in effect," she ordered. Tiny drones zipped from their packs, dispersing in all directions. Each carried a mirrored shell and emitter node, thousands of programmable reflections and false signals. Within seconds, the valley filled with ghost readings, dozens of human biosigns where there were none. Private Silva chuckled softly. "Ma'am, this'll make them dance." "They'll do more than dance," Kane murmured. Outside, the Vrake's drones swept low, scanning. The alien machines resembled crystalline wasps, each projecting scanning rays across the terrain. When the first wave crossed the humans' false coordinates, their sensors overloaded. The sky lit up in silent pulses, electromagnetic bursts collapsing their systems. Marlowe didn't flinch. She simply watched. "EMP detonation successful. Signal blackout confirmed." In orbit, High Commander Vorthek's fleet began to report inconsistencies. Thousands of troops deployed to a planet now unreadable to their scanners. Down below, the humans were already moving. Kane adjusted his rifle. 3 minutes before they reorganize. "We strike fast. Make every shot count," Marlowe said. "We don't waste ammunition. We make them guess." They slipped through the storm like shadows. Their armor blended with the dust, heat signatures dampened by cooled exocets. When the first alien patrol came into view, 7 Vrake soldiers encased in insected armor, Marlowe signaled a halt. "Wait," she whispered. "They'll pass." The aliens paused meters away, scanning in confusion. Their instruments flickered, unable to locate the humans standing right in front of them. "Now!" Silva triggered her charge. A silent flash tore through the air, collapsing magnetic shields. The aliens convulsed and fell without a sound. "Targets neutralized," Silva said, exhaling slowly. Kane grinned beneath his helmet. "That's 12 down." Marlowe's tone cut through. "And 19,988 to go." They dragged the alien corpses into the shadows. Marlowe crouched beside one, examining its armor's inner workings. The exocet's power core pulsed faintly blue. She pried it open, rewired it, and slipped it into her own drone module. "Ma'am, you're not actually..." Kane started. "Adapting," she interrupted. "They're giving us tools. Let's use them." An hour later, new drones patrolled the ridges, hacked alien scouts under human command. Above them, chaos spread. On board the Kravthal, Commander Vorthek's voice thundered through the command bridge. "Explain how 12 primitives destroyed our forward scouts." A technician trembled. "Our sensors malfunctioned. Interference is planetary, unknown origin." "Unknown?" Vorthek snapped, his clawed hands slamming against the console. "Find them. I want their coordinates within the hour." He turned toward the viewport, watching the fiery horizon. His reflection stared back, 4 eyes filled with irritation. The humans were supposed to be fragile. predictable. How could a mere recon detachment disrupt freight operations? On the ground, Marlowe's team shifted positions again. They never stayed longer than an hour. Every movement was deliberate: plant false signals, move, disappear. Command still silent, Kane reported, scanning his comms. No word from orbit. We don't need them, Marlowe replied. We make our own command now. Night fell. The storms eased, revealing a field of alien wreckage glittering under twin moons. The humans rested in silence, their helmets off for the first time in 36 hours. Silva sipped recycled water and looked at Marlowe. Why don't they just glass the place from orbit? Marlowe considered. They want the resources intact. They think this planet's worth more than we are. And they're wrong? Marlowe's eyes were steady. Completely. Her voice carried a quiet weight that silenced the group. Every one of them had fought in forgotten wars across distant colonies. They had buried comrades in frozen soil and breathed toxic air just to hold a single outpost. This was nothing new. Humanity didn't win by numbers. It won by endurance. Dawn came red and raw. The Vrake launched their second wave, armored walkers this time, heavy mechs pounding the ground with seismic thuds. Targets inbound, Kane said. Hundreds of them. Then let's give them something to chase. They activated the next phase of Phantom Net. Holographic projections shimmered across the valley, lifelike illusions of human soldiers sprinting, vehicles moving, even artillery firing. The aliens fell for it instantly. Dozens of walkers turned and fired, pulverizing their own troops in the crossfire. From her vantage point, Marlowe watched the destruction unfold. Her expression didn't change. Lesson 1, she said into her mic. Don't fight humans on a planet we've touched. By midday, the Vrake had lost another 1,000 troops. Confusion spread faster than orders. Every command relay jammed, every sensor deceived. Reports poured into orbit describing impossible sightings, humans splitting into multiple targets, attacking from all sides, vanishing at will. In truth, there were still only 12 of them. At sunset, Marlowe gathered her team inside a half-collapsed dome overlooking the smoldering battlefield. The alien army below was reorganizing, lines forming again. She studied them through her scope. They'll adapt, Kane said. So will we, Marlowe replied. Silva smirked. You ever think they'll realize we're just a recon team? Marlowe looked through the fading dust and smiled faintly. If they do, it'll be the last thing they realize. That night, a single message pulsed across the human team's encrypted channel, short, sharp, anonymous, from somewhere deep within the void. Hold position. Reinforcements delayed. You are on your own. Marlowe stared at it for a long moment, then deleted the message. We were always on our own, she said. Nothing's changed. Far above, High Commander Vorthsek stood in silence before a holographic projection of Tirvac Prime. His sensors showed nothing but static. His lieutenants whispered of shadows, illusions, and death without sound. He clenched his jaw. Prepare the next assault, he said coldly. If this is humanity's recon team, I want to see what their soldiers look like. Down below, the 12 humans vanished once more into the crimson storm. They weren't running. They were recon, observing, learning, and preparing. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy had no idea what it had just provoked. The ash had not yet settled. Across Tirvac Prime, the ground still trembled from the last Vrake assault. Dozens of alien transports lay scattered, smoking in the dunes, their hulls split open like shells. Above them, 2 moons hung dimly, filtering through the haze like cold eyes watching the dead. Captain Elena Marlowe crouched beside a shattered drone husk, prying loose its guidance core. The alien tech pulsed faintly, alive in her palm. She studied it, then smiled. They keep sending us gifts. Lieutenant Kane leaned over her shoulder. You planning to rebuild another scout net? No, she said, slotting the core into her datapad. I'm planning to turn their own satellites against them. Her fingers flew across the interface, lines of alien code unraveling into familiar human logic. The signal decrypted within seconds, granting her access to Vraked orbital surveillance. The entire alien deployment lit up on her visor, 12 red zones crawling across the planet's surface. "Commander," said Silva, her voice tight over comms. "We've got movement east of the ridge. At least 5 companies fanning out. They're sweeping the terrain." Marlowe didn't look up. "Let them." She traced her fingertip across the holographic projection, marking a canyon 2 kilometers ahead. "We'll pull them into the Black Canyon. Set the lures along the ridgeline. Make it look like we're running." Kane frowned. "They'll think we're retreating." "Exactly." The team moved with silent efficiency. Each soldier carried small pulse beacons disguised as heat signatures, mimicking human body temperatures. They planted them along the canyon floor, then withdrew to the cliffs above. By dawn, the first alien walkers appeared, towering figures of obsidian armor, glowing with internal heat. Their movements were slow, methodical, confident. "Targets entering the field," whispered Silva. Marlowe watched through her rifle scope. "Patience." Below, the Vraked commander barked orders in their guttural language. His troops advanced, surrounding the false signals. The instant their scanners aligned, Marlowe gave a single nod. Kane triggered the detonator. The entire canyon erupted in blue fire. Silent shockwaves rippled upward as EMP mines discharged. Alien armor shattered, their systems fried in seconds. The blast left the air trembling. "Confirming impact," Kane said. "Multiple hits. 70, maybe 80 units down." Marlowe exhaled slowly. "Good. That should make them angry." In orbit, High Commander Vorthek's claws scraped against his chair's armrests. "You're telling me they vanished again?" His adjutant nodded nervously. "Our patrols entered a canyon, no survivors. The humans left no trace." "No trace?" Vorthek hissed. "Thousands of sensors, and you find nothing?" The bridge was silent. The only sound was the distant hum of the flagship's engines. Vorthek turned toward the viewport, watching smoke twist into the upper atmosphere. "They are not ghosts," he said finally. "They are strategists." On the surface, the humans had retreated into the old mining tunnels beneath Tirvac Ridge. The air was thin and smelled of metal. Marlowe crouched over her datapad, analyzing intercepted Vrake transmissions. "They're confused," she said. "They think we've got an army scattered across the continent." Kane smirked. "Let's not correct them." The others chuckled quietly, though fatigue etched their faces. 2 weeks of constant movement had stripped them down to instinct. They ate ration paced in silence, slept in shifts, spoke only when needed. Marlowe finally stood. "We're done running small ops. We hit their command grid next." Kane hesitated. "You're serious?" "They're directing all planetary comms from a relay in the central basin. Take that out, they go blind. That's 50 kilometers deep in enemy territory." She met his eyes. "Good. They won't expect us there." The journey took a day and a half. They traveled at night, using storms as cover, skirting patrol routes mapped through stolen data. By the time they reached the basin, the sky had turned pale gray, sunlight filtered through dust thick enough to taste. From their vantage point, the Vrake command center rose like a fortress, metal spires wrapped in defensive shields, guarded by drones circling in precise formations. Kane scanned it through his visor. "That's not a base. That's a city." "Then we'll give them an evacuation drill," Marlowe said. She pointed toward the western slope where the alien fuel silos stood, tall, cylindrical towers feeding plasma into their power grid. "We overload those, everything connected to the relay burns out." Silva volunteered first. "I'll go." Marlowe's gaze hardened. "You'll need backup." "I'll take Soren." Kane stepped forward. "Ma'am, if this fails..." "It won't." She didn't blink. "It can't." Night fell again. The storm howled across the basin, drowning all sound. Silva and Soren moved through the haze like shadows, slipping between patrols. Their suits mimicked alien energy signatures perfectly. They were invisible ghosts in the machine. At the base of the first fuel tower, Soren connected a pulse charger to the intake line. The device beeped softly, its display blinking green. "Charge 1 set," he whispered. "Charge 2 ready," Silva replied. The storm crackled above, lightning dancing through clouds. As they prepared the final detonator, a drone drifted low, its sensors scanning. Soren froze. Silva's hand went to her knife. The drone passed inches away, light reflecting off her visor. A faint hum filled the air, then silence. It moved on. They exchanged a glance, both breathing hard. "On 3, she whispered. 3, he said. They pressed the trigger. The explosion was instant and absolute. A chain of blinding fire raced across the basin, consuming every tower in a rolling wave. Shockwaves cracked the air, flattening drones mid-flight. The sky turned white for a heartbeat. In the command tunnels miles away, Marlowe's team shielded their faces from the light. The ground shook violently. Then came silence, deep and complete. "Comms grid offline," Kane said, staring at his screen. "We did it. They can't talk to anyone." Marlowe didn't smile. "Get Silva on comms." Static. Again. Nothing. Kane lowered his headset. "No signal." Marlowe closed her eyes briefly. They knew the risk. For a long moment, no one spoke. Outside, the dust settled, revealing a sky now burning orange from the wreckage. In orbit, chaos erupted. Reports vanished. Fleets lost contact. Command relays across the sector blinked out one after another. Vortsek slammed his claws into the console. "How can one planet silence an entire network?" "Unknown interference, Commander," an officer stammered. "Origin traced to." "Don't say it," Vortsek growled. "Human positions." He turned sharply. "Those are reconnaissance troops, not saboteurs. Not engineers." The officer hesitated. "They shouldn't be capable of this." Vortsek's voice dropped to a whisper. "And yet they are." He stared at the burning sphere below, realization dawning behind his fury. "They weren't attacking us," he murmured. "They were studying us." Back on the surface, Marlowe stood on the ridge as the wind scattered glowing embers into the sky. The horizon pulsed with distant fires. Kane approached quietly. "They'll regroup, ma'am. You know they will." "I'm counting on it," she said. "Fear makes people predictable. We just turned an empire into prey." He looked out at the desolation. "And if they send the full fleet?" Marlowe adjusted her visor, eyes fixed on the darkness. "Then we show them what 12 humans can really do." The storm picked up again, swallowing their voices. The last flicker of alien fire died beneath the sand, leaving only shadow and silence. Far above, in orbit, the Vrake Dominion reeled in disbelief. Their commander watched a world burn, not from bombardment, but from 12 unseen hands that refused to die. For the first time in his long career, High Commander Vortsek felt something he didn't recognize. It wasn't anger. It was fear. The valley that once roared with fire was silent now. Smoke coiled into the bruised sky, drifting above the wrecks of the alien war machines, hulking shadows smoldering in defeat. The shattered earth bore the mark of precision, every crater and scorch pattern speaking of surgical strikes. For the first time in centuries, the Xyroth warlords were uncertain. Their command ships hovered above, hesitant, wary of something they couldn't understand: humans. Major Elena Vargas stood amid the ruins, her armor streaked with soot, her rifle still warm from the last volley. Around her, the Recon team moved like ghosts, 6 soldiers who had done the impossible, halted an invasion fleet with little more than grit, ingenuity, and a few dozen drones. She stared up at the alien carriers blotting out the sun, her voice low but steady through the calms. "Recon Team Echo, status." "Alive," came Kai's ragged voice. "Tired. Angry. But alive." "Good," Elena said, exhaling slowly. "Then we're not done yet." Far above, in the orbiting Xyroth command ship Vorkael's Wrath, Commander Jernak slammed his clawed hand against the console. The holographic projection flickered, a dozen blinking red indicators, all signifying loss. He had sent an entire division to crush what his analysts reported as a small human scouting detachment. Instead, that detachment had torn through his forces like a scalpel through flesh. "Explain," he demanded, voice rumbling. "How could Six do this?" His adjutant, a thin alien with trembling mandibles, dared not look up. "They used their terrain, improvised with what they called repurposed mining drones, sir. They forced us into choke points. Their strikes were unpredictable." "Unpredictable?" Jernak hissed. "They're primitives." The adjutant hesitated. "They were efficient, Commander. Cold. As if they knew every move we'd make." Jernak's gaze darkened. "Then we study them. We learn." Down below, the Recon team regrouped by a shattered transport, patching wounds and recalibrating gear. The landscape was chaos: broken trees, melted armor, shattered soil, but Vargas's mind was already 2 steps ahead. She crouched beside the portable relay station, scanning the atmospheric data. Static filled the feed, until the encrypted human frequency broke through. "Echo Team, this is High Command," came the voice of General Corps. "Satellite uplink shows heavy movement in orbit. They're regrouping." "We expected that," Elena said. "But their ground units are gone." "That's not victory," Corps warned. "It's hesitation. They're recalculating." Kai stepped forward, voice grim. "Sir, with respect, they just lost 2,000 troops to 6 of us. They'll do more than recalculate, they'll panic." Vargas muted the line, glancing at him. "Maybe that's what we want." Kai frowned. "You mean, push them?" "Exactly," she said, straightening. "The more they fear us, the less they think clearly. Fear breaks formations faster than any weapon." The team exchanged looks. They were exhausted, bruised, and half-supplied, but the spark in Vargas's eyes burned hotter than ever. "Let's make them afraid," she said. Above the planet, Jernak convened his war council. The holograms of his captains shimmered in the dim chamber, each a towering figure clad in battle plate. Their voices overlapped in fury and confusion, each trying to explain the unexplainable defeat. "They used deception. Mines where there were none. They led us into our own artillery fire. They knew our codes." Jernak raised a hand, silencing them. "They are human," he said slowly, the word dripping like venom. "They thrive on chaos. They use it as a weapon." A murmur spread across the captains. "They are not warriors like us," Jernak continued. "They are hunters. And we walked into their trap." The silence that followed was heavier than gravity. "Then what do we do?" one captain asked. Jernak's mandibles tightened. "We adapt. We bring the full fleet to bear. No more scouts. No more tests. We burn their world." Hours later, the sky split open. From orbit, beams of plasma cascaded down like divine judgment, scorching the valley. But by the time the fire reached the ground, there was nothing left to burn. The humans were gone. Jernak stared at the tactical feed, baffled. "Where?" "Gone, Commander," his adjutant said. "Evacuated before the strike." "Impossible." The feed flickered. Suddenly, the Zyruth bridge lights dimmed, replaced by static. Then, through the interference, a human face appeared, Major Vargas, her expression calm, almost amused. "Commander Jernak," she said evenly. "You're trespassing on Terran soil. You've made a mess. We're cleaning it up." Jernak leaned forward, rage boiling. "You dare? Dare?" Vargas smiled faintly. "We already did." The transmission cut out. In the same instant, the Vorkael's RAS shuddered violently. Alarms screamed. Systems flickered. Jernak spun to his officers. "What's happening?" "Sabotage!" the adjutant shrieked. "Something inside the reactor." The ship convulsed as a silent explosion tore through its midsection. Outside, fire blossomed across the hull. The mighty command ship began to fall, trailing light like a dying comet. Back on the surface, The Recon team watched the burning streaks cross the horizon. Kai let out a long whistle. Was that? Vargas lowered her binoculars, lips curling. That was their command ship. He blinked. How? She nodded toward the small case by her feet, now empty. Remember those mining drones? They weren't just explosives. They were transmitters. Hitched a ride when their dropships pulled out. Kai stared, speechless. You planned this the whole time? Not the whole time, she said. Just long enough. The team laughed, a raw, disbelieving sound carried by the wind. For a moment, amid the ruin and smoke, it almost felt like peace. But Vargas wasn't smiling anymore. Her gaze drifted skyward. They'll send more, she murmured. They always do. Kai's voice softened. And we'll be ready. She looked at him, then at the horizon where dawn was breaking, casting gold light over the scarred world. No, she said quietly. Next time, they'll be the ones running. In the void beyond the planet, fragments of the Vorkael's wrath drifted like dying embers. Among the wreckage, a single Zyroth escape pod spun silently, carrying Commander Jernak, burned, broken, but alive. His breath rasped as he stared at the fading planet below. Humans, he whispered, trembling with both hatred and awe. That was only a recon team? His claws dug into the armrest as realization struck him. If that was recon, he growled, eyes blazing. What happens when the army arrives? The stars offered no answer. Only the faint echo of static whispered through the void, a human transmission looping endlessly, cold and defiant. You wanted a war. You found humanity instead. And for the first time in his long life, Commander Jernak understood fear.